Righto, let us get started. So make sure you've got your pen and paper ready. Tommy is ready here. At the table, ready to work. Yeah, see that pencil come out. Right, okay, so we, on Monday, had finished these questions. I know it doesn't show it here just because it was on a different lesson. So we are carrying on with question 2.3. And we're going to sort of work from there. Remember, I said this is the question that I felt was very, very important moving into the beginning of grade 8. So this is what we're doing now. Should we have time, we'll come back to other ones. So just so that we all know how these lessons run, basically what we do within Watobe is we follow the CAPS document or the assessment plan set out by the government. So if you join the class early, so 5 minutes earlier, if you have questions that you've done in class that you don't understand or that you're something that you're a bit confused about, I'm more than happy to help you then. But when we start the lesson, we're focusing on that specific content. So for example, today we're focusing on like these questions that we're going to do. So we're not going to answer any other types of questions. We're focusing on this. So the goal is that we will cover the whole year's content in set courses. But based on what you've said here, if there's anything that you did struggle with from last year, generally what we'll try to do is we'll have like the first lesson of each course, we'll sort of recap what you should know or should have learned in grade 7. And so that is where if you were struggling with something specific in that course, you can ask me questions as we go along. So I hope that answers your question, and I hope for everyone else we've got a bit more clarity on the way things work. Okay, so guys, let's have a look at our first question here. Our first question here, we want to find the value of this expression that you've been given here. Now, I have said that you may find the number line useful, and for some of you, it will be useful, especially if you struggle to add and subtract with negative values. For some of you, you can just do it in your head. Some people use a calculator. I have no problems with a calculator, but some teachers do say you're not allowed to use a calculator. And so we need to be able to do these sorts of questions without one. And this is where the number line becomes quite useful to us, because having a number line allows us to work with positive and negative values. So this expression that we have here is 6 plus -8 plus a -2. So there's a little bit going on here that we need to bear in mind, but let's essentially start with what we've been given. So the first value we've been told we're starting with, so like our starting point in this whole situation is 6. So we can go to our number line and we can start at, it's going to fight with me, so we can start at positive 6 on our number line. There we go. The first bit of this expression, or the sum that we need to do, is we need to say 6 plus -8. So can someone quickly tell me in the chat, or you can raise your hand, when we've got a situation where we've got the plus minus right next to each other, which operation do we work with? So should I be saying 6 plus 8, or should I be saying 6 minus 8? Bonolo, what do you think?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
I think, ma'am, when the two signs are together, we use a addition sign.
Okay, why do you think it's the addition sign?
Because, ma'am, those two signs next to each other are not the same.
Okay, good. So they're definitely not the same. So now we have to decide, what does this actually mean? So if we take this one step further, if we've got the two signs right next to each other, sorry, I keep forgetting that I'm fighting with this thing, the plus and the minus, what it's actually sort of implying is that there's a multiplication. Now, if we've got a positive times a negative, what sign do I work? Well, what sign do I get? What is a positive times a negative? What's a bun? Do you want to help us out here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, plus times negative equals a negative, because a plus and a negative is not the same.
Okay, perfect. So exactly as Panola said, these are not the same signs. So we need to figure out which is which. So when we've got a plus and a minus together, exactly as Motabang has now said to us, we're going to use the minus. So what we actually want to do here is 6 minus 8, because the positive times the negative gives me the negative. And so now this is where we can go to our number line. We can now go to number line and say, okay, from this positive 6, I want to subtract 8. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that takes me to a negative 2. Now, obviously, I'm not done. I still have more of my sum to do, but I've done the first subtraction. I now need to take whatever that answer is, which we know is now a negative 2, and we need to add negative 2. Now, this is exactly the same as what we just spoke about earlier. We've got a plus and a minus, which basically means I'm going to subtract 2. And so now I subtract another 2 from here, and I get exactly, as Andile said to us in the chat there, an answer of negative 4. And so this expression simplifies down to negative 4. Now again, guys, if you're using a calculator, that's cool. Personally, I have absolutely no issues with calculators. You're eventually going to use them all the time, so why not start getting used to it? Some teachers don't like using calculators. So this is a way that you can do these sorts of sums without a calculator. Obviously, if you're happy to just sort of do it in your head, that's cool as well. But if we struggle with adding and subtracting negative numbers, a number line is a really good place to start and then build your confidence as you go along. Right, so remember, I'm going to stay here for a second or two in case you want to take a screenshot of the answer and the question, and then we're going to move on to 2.4.
Well done, my people. Y'all are doing really, really great remembering all of these things. And they're very important for us to actually know and understand, because these are the basics of everything that we're going to do. We need these rules, and we need to understand why are we doing it. Okay, my pibs. So well done, everyone. So proud of all of you.
Bonolo, I see your hand is still up. Do you still have a question for us?
No, ma'am, I forgot to take my hand down. Sorry.
Cool, no problem. No, don't worry. Okay, I'm assuming we all took our screenshots, so I'm going to move on. We're now at 2.4, whereby I'm asking you to simplify again. Now, yes, we could continue to try and use a number line here, but what we need to be careful of is the fact that I also now have a division thrown into my, my sum. And so now this is where we need to take very careful note of our order of work. Now, I say order of work. Some people use the word bodmas or bedmas. But basically, it's a situation where you need to do the work in the correct order. So like I say order of work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write this. Order of work. I don't say bodmas, but it basically means the same thing. Okay. Can anyone quickly tell me what is bodmas? What does bodmas mean? Like, it's great that I said bodmas, but what does it mean? So Yisha, what is bodmas?
Brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction.
Excellent, well done. So as Nkobi's now said on the chat as well, this tells me the order in which I should be doing my operations. So the very, very first thing that we always need to deal with are any brackets in my expression. That was a weird looking bracket. Let me try that again. Didn't get better, but whatever. And what I see is that in this expression, I have 2 pairs of brackets. So that is what I need to deal with first. I need to simplify what's going on in these brackets. If you have an exponent, you will deal with the exponent next. Oh, golly. I'm going to say EXP. I can't write the whole thing out. And then we've got division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Now, the multiplication and division sort of need to happen at the same time, and the addition and subtraction need to happen at the same time. They have the same level of importance. But if we look at our first question, we can see that we've got these brackets that we first need to deal with, and that's where I need to start. So my first question to you is, in the first bracket, we've got 14 divided by 2. Quickly type in the chat for me, what is 14 divided by 2? Tawanashe, excellent. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So the value of my first bracket there is 7. Excellent, guys. Nice. Well done. Okay, in the chat quickly, what is 51 minus 48? Good, well done. 51 minus 48 is 3. Now, guys, once you've actually simplified the brackets, you don't need to write the brackets anymore. So if you take away these brackets, that's absolutely fine because you've dealt with the brackets. It's done. The brackets no longer need to be there. And so now all we have to do is do the next order of operations or the next bit of my work, which is to add. And I think we can all confidently say that 7 plus 3 is 10. So order of work, super, super important, because if we're not doing it in the correct order, we potentially are not going to get the right answer. Sometimes you do, but you don't always. So it's very important we follow that bodmas or this order of work. So you show your hand is up. Do you have a question for us?
No, ma'am.
Cool. Again, I'm just giving everyone a second if they want a screenshot. I'm going to move to the next one now in a second. Okay, so 4.2, hang on, let me stop here. Or, do you have a question for us?
Hello, Miss.
Hi.
So I know we're doing a lesson right now, but I wasn't here on Monday. But I also saw the heading that it said something about grade 7 revision. So I don't know what's the quiz about because I'm anxious and I just started today. Like okay, I was here last year, November, but I stopped and then
okay.
So I don't know what's in the quiz.
Don't be anxious about the quiz at all. It's basically grade 7 work. So you don't have to stress about it at all. And remember, these quizzes aren't to say, oh, you're doing badly, you're failing, or you're passing. It's to see how comfortable you are with the work. And so once you've done the quiz, if you do nicely, then you know that you're happy with grade 7 work. If you don't do so nicely, that's okay. We're going to recap this stuff as we go through all of the courses. So don't stress about it. If you don't do well, it just means that you need to really focus and attend all of the lessons as we go along.
So, Miss, do I go over all the videos that you've done?
Don't spend so much time. Just give it a try. It's basically stuff like questions like we're doing right now. These sorts of basic questions that are really important from grade 7. I mean, obviously, if you want to go and rewatch videos, by all means, go for it. But you don't have to stress about it.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Okay, guys, really important. Please don't stress about these quizzes. They are not things that I want you to stress about. It is for you to practice. It is for you to see how you're feeling about the work. Please don't go and sit and, I mean, the quizzes generally are not more than 10 questions. So I don't want you to sit for hours on end trying to study and stuff. It's not necessary. Do it, see how well you do, see how confident you're feeling. That is the purpose of the quiz, okay?
And just to add another thing that is like, you need to know if you're a UB, we have a quiz every week. So these quizzes, really, it's not to do anything, it's just to test whether you did understand during that week. So for this week, we're doing a quiz on Wednesday. Next week also, we're going to do a quiz on Wednesday, but we see you on Monday and Wednesday. And then after a class, you can therefore, I'll send a link tonight. You can therefore click there and just apply what you know. And it's okay. If you get 1 wrong or 2 wrong, it's okay. And you're allowed to even repeat the quiz if you want to. And just remember that the reason we have the quiz there, like Teacher Sam has explained to you, is so that we can see if you did understand what we were teaching or you need a little bit of much more practice, which then it's up to you to decide because we already made the video. If you feel like, okay, you need more practice, then you can go to the video and watch the video and redo the quiz. That's up to you, but definitely you will get good results. That's something that we know.
And guys, just quickly on what Yolanda said there, the quizzes are based on the week's work. Okay, so Monday and Wednesday's lesson, that is what the quiz is based on. I'm not going to quiz you on stuff that you did in grade 7 or that you did 7 weeks ago. It's based on our 2 lessons. You do the quiz. We've got Monday, Wednesday, quiz, Monday, Wednesday, quiz. So quizzes are every Wednesday. It is based on the 2 lessons of work, the Monday's lesson and the Wednesday's lesson. And we will send through that link, Saisha, towards the end of the lesson. Okay. Right, guys, let's have a look at 2.4.2. We've got some fractions here that we need to deal with. Now, who can tell me what type of fractions these 2 in this expression are? What type of fraction is 2 2/3 and 1 2/5? Awandla, what type of fractions are there?
Ma'am, the fractions are mixed numbers.
Excellent. Okay, so guys, these are what we call mixed numbers because you've got a whole number part of the value and then you've got a fraction part of the value. Now, again, all mixed fractions, that's fine too. If you're using a calculator, you can type this into your calculator and you can get an answer. There's no need to do anything more than that. However, we need to know how to do this without a calculator. Now, to do this without a calculator, I know some people do actually do it where they add the 2 and the 1 and then they deal with the fractions. That's cool. But one way that I like to do this is I like to convert these to improper fractions. Let's see if I can get this right. Improper fractions. Okay, now can anyone explain to me, how do I convert mixed numbers to improper fractions? Rodivua?
Do you multiply the number, the whole number, with the denominator and then add the numerator?
Excellent, well done. So guys, if we look at our first mixed number, we've got 2 2/3. So exactly as has just been said to us, first thing that we do is we multiply the denominator with the number in front or the whole number. So we would say 3 times 2. And then that answer, I add the numerator to. So add 2. Now we know that 3 times 2 is 6. So I've got 6 plus 2, which gives me 8. Now that becomes the new numerator of my improper fraction. So 2 2/3 as an improper fraction is 8/3. And so I have converted this first mixed number or mixed fraction to 8/3. So I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds. I want you to go and convert for me the second mixed number or mixed fraction of 1 2/5. What does that give me as an improper fraction? And you can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat if you want to answer, but what does it give me as an improper fraction? Yeah, I hope I say your name correctly. If I don't, correct me. Watobe, what does it give me?
Ma'am, it gives you 7/5.
Perfect. 7/5. Excellent. And so now what I've got is a situation where I've got 2 improper fractions, and for me, that's a little bit easier to work with. Right, so now I need to go and consider what is my operation that I'm working with. Well, the operation that I have here is a plus. Now, the second I am adding or subtracting fractions, I need to find an LCD. So an LCD is for when we add or when we subtract fractions. Okay. So as Karabo said in the chat, the way we find an LCD is to essentially find the lowest common multiple between the 2 denominators. So your 2 denominators here are 3 and 5. So I want to know what is the smallest number that both 3 and 5 can divide into without a remainder. Nice, guys, you're so honest tonight. So the smallest number that it can divide into without a remainder, that both 3 and 5 can divide into without a remainder rather, is 15. And so what that is doing is it's telling me that that is what I need to make both of these denominators. So now we have to ask ourselves, what can I times 3 by to make it 15? Well, we know that if I times 3 by 5, I'm going to get 15. But what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I have to keep the numerator and denominator in the same proportion or be multiplied by the same thing. Otherwise, I'm changing the meaning of the fraction. So can anyone tell me, what do I need to multiply 5 by to make that denominator 15? Ntkozo? Ntkozo, do you have a question or do you want to answer? Okay, no problem. Isona, what do we do?
3.
Times it by 3. Excellent. But if I'm going to times the 5 by 3, I also need to multiply the 7 by 3. Well done. Okay, so guys, now what we have is a situation where we've got the denominators the same. So both of these denominators are now going to be denominators of 15. That was the whole point of finding an LCD. When I multiply 5 times 8, I get 40. And someone did put that in the chat. I can't remember who, but I did see it come through. And then if I times 7 by 3, I get 21. And now that my denominators are the same, I'm just going to carry on over here. Now that my denominators are the same, I can add them and I can essentially create one fraction over 15. That's the point that we want to do. We want to get one fraction and add them together. So if I now add the numerators, so 40 plus 21, I get a numerator of 61 over 15. Excellent. Now, guys, what we need to double check is whether or not we can simplify our answer. Now, if you are not sure if you can simplify your answer, grab your calculator. Obviously, if your calculator doesn't do fractions, it's a little bit harder, but I'll explain how to do it now. What you do is you type that fraction into your calculator. So I will type 61 over 15 onto my calculator, push equals, and my calculator will always give me the most simplified answer. Now, because my calculator is giving me 61 over 15, I can't simplify it any further. And so it needs to stay as 61 over 15. That can't be simplified. To show you an example of one that could be simplified, have a look at this orange block over here. So if I've given you the fraction 12 over 16, for example, both of those can be divided by 4. So if I divide 12 by 4, I get 3. And if I divide 16 by 4, I get 4. And so if you want to simplify a fraction, you need to see if there's any value that you can divide into both numerator and denominator in order to simplify it. So just to remind you here, what I saw was that I could divide both of these by 4, and it simplified my fraction for me. Again, if I just type that into my calculator automatically gives me the simplified answer. So one way to always make sure you've simplified is to just put it into your calculator and make sure that the answer you write down is then the simplified answer. We are going to do fractions again. So this is what I was saying earlier in terms of we're going to recap the important stuff from fractions. So don't stress if this is a bit overwhelming. We are going to chat about it again. Right, I'm going to wait here for everyone to take a screenshot, and then we're going to take a little break before we carry on. Okay, last few seconds to take your screenshot, and then I'm going to move away. Okay, whoops. Sorry, I put my break up here. Okay, so every lesson, I'm never gonna hopefully talk for a full hour. So we will always have a little break about halfway through our lesson, and the breaks will be a little bit different depending on what I decide. But mostly there'll be like some sort of puzzle or brain teaser or something like that. So this is today is what we call our brain break. Now, basically what happens in a brain break is I give you this puzzle, whatever I give you, and you need to find the solution. So I'm sure most of you have probably seen this before, but basically you want to figure out the value of the boots, the sunglasses, and the coat in order to work out the final value of this last expression. So because this is the first time we're doing a brain break, we're going to do it together. So let's start with this very first expression up here. And let's see, can we work out what 2 boots must be equal to in order to get 42? Now we need to look carefully at what's happening. I'm adding the same value. I'm adding 2 boots every single time. So it needs to be the same number that I'm adding. So Esona, what do you think?
14.
Excellent. So guys, if I add 14 plus 14, I get 28. And if I add another 14, I get 42. So a pair of boots is 14. Esona, what would 1 boot be? Okay, I think I've lost Esona. Lesedi, do you want to help me out? What would 1 boot be? Okay. Right, I can see in the chat some of you are answering. Thank you. If we want only 1 boot, we know that 2 boots is 14. 1 boot is half of that. So 1 boot is 7. Now that's important because in the final expression, I only have 1 boot. So I need to be careful. Okay, so now I know that every pair of boots is 14. So that's hopefully going to help me in the second expression where I've got 2 pairs of sunglasses plus 2 pairs of sunglasses times a pair of boots. So we now need to figure out what the pair of sunglasses is, what value that is. So Lesedi and Sona, I still see your hands up. You can leave them up if you want to try this. If not, you can lower them. Lesedi, what is the 2 pairs of glasses equal to? Right, I see some answers coming through on the chat. What I want you to be careful of is the fact that you've got a multiplication and you've got an addition. So remember, we've just spoken about bodmas. We have to do the multiplication first, and then we do the addition. That's very, very important. Kabelo, what do you think?
Ma'am, the classes are 10 plus 10 times 14 equals to 150.
Excellent, well done. So guys, exactly as Kabelo said here, we need to remember our bodmas or our order of work. I first need to do the multiplication. So 10 times 14 is 140. And then I add the 10 and that gives me that 150. So now I know 2 pairs of glasses is 10. What does that mean 1 pair of glasses is equal to? If 2 is 10, what is 1? Good, Bonolo. 1 pair of glasses is 5. Okay, so we're on the third one. What is the value of the coats? So I'm going to give you a second to think about it. What must the coats be so that when I multiply the coat by 5 and then add the coat, I'm going to get 54. Sibasihle, I did see your question. I will go back to that, the last question that we did, so that you can screenshot when we're done. So what must the coat be equal to? And remember, you need to do the multiplication first. Bonolo, what do you think? Oh, no, Bonolo left me. Rolivua, what do you think?
I think it's 9.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, well done. So
Well done, Rolivua.
Must be 9. If we do the multiplication first, 9 times 5 is 45, okay? Then we add another quote. So then we add another 9. So 45 plus 9, that gives me the 54 that I wanted. So one quote must be equal to 9. What is then 2 quotes? If one quote is 9, what is 2?
18.
Excellent. Well done. Okay, so guys, now we've got everything that we need to try and work out this final one. Now, again, what you need to remember is that we need to do the multiplication first. So, Boitu, what is the final answer here?
Sorry, ma'am, I made a mistake.
No problem. Kabelo?
Ma'am, the answer is 187.
Excellent. Well done. And I saw Dante had put that on the chat. I saw quite a few other people had put it on the chat. Well done. 187. Again, you do the multiplication first. So 10 times 18, which is 180. And then you add the 7, giving you 187. Now, guys, again, this might seem like something silly that's not worth your time, but it helps you with your basic operations and your number sense. Being able to work with numbers like this is so, so important. It helps you with things like factors and multiples. So even though it seems like just a silly little puzzle, mathematically, it's actually very useful to us. So I really do encourage you to at least try it. Okay. So Anasha, thank you for appreciating my cow joke. A cow in an earthquake is called a milkshake. I thought that was funny. You guys now know I'm obsessed with cars, so you'll see a cow joke every now and then. You don't have to laugh at them, it's fine. It's really just for me. Sometimes there'll be a math joke, sometimes a cow joke. It's really, we'll see what happens. Right, I don't know if anyone wants to take a screenshot of this, but I'll wait here for 2 seconds in case you do, and then I'm gonna move on. Oh, getting old, I can't sit for 2 hours. Oh. Okay, let's go back. I'm just going to go back to the last question that we did just so that Sipasihle and anyone else who might need to take a screenshot can do so.
Yeah, and well done, my babes. Y'all are doing really good.
And then we're on 2.4.3, which you're welcome to have a look at if you would like. But I'm just going to give everyone a second to take that screenshot before I carry on. Oh. This is my hot water bottle, just so that we're not like thinking I'm sitting here with a cuddly toy. I've got a bit of a sore stomach, so I've got a hot water bottle. Okay, guys, let's do it. So we can see that in this next expression, the operation that I'm working with is multiplication. Now, multiplication with fractions is a little bit different to when I add and subtract with fractions. When I multiply or divide with fractions, I don't need an LCD. I don't care about the LCD. You could go and find one, but you're making more work for yourself. So we don't need an LCD when we multiply. Again, the first thing I want to do is I want to convert this mixed fraction. I'm not a fan of it. Let me just convert it to an improper fraction so that I can now do what I need to do. So quickly, either in the chat or you can raise your hand. What is 3 1/3 as an improper fraction? Nice, Hawanashe, Rulavuya. Sure, English. What is it?
10/3.
Excellent, well done. So we multiply the 3 and the 3 to give us 9, and we add 1 to give us 10. Okay, so we've got 10/3. Lots of you put that in the chat. Excellent, well done. Rulavuya has now told us that. We now have these 2 fractions. Okay, so again, we don't need an LCD. Not needed when we multiply or divide fractions. What we do want to do now is we want to multiply. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can go about dealing with this. I'm going to show you one way. I'll explain another way. You could also just use a calculator. But if we need to do it without a calculator, what is very important is that we're multiplying the numerators together, so 4 times 10, and we're multiplying the denominators together. So when multiplying fractions, we multiply numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. Okay, so when I go and multiply this, what is 40 times 10? And I'm just going to carry on up here. 40 times 10, just put it quickly. Oh, 40 times 10, sure, I'm giving you the answer. Right, 4 times 10 is 40. Oopsie. Right, sorry guys. And yes, Samantha, 40 times 10 would be 400. It would help if I was actually focused. 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I've got my one single fraction. Again, what I want to do is I want to check if I can simplify this. So quickly in the chat, put a thumbs up if you can think it. Oh, okay, I'm going to try my whole sentence again. Put a thumbs up if you think it can simplify. Put a thumbs down if you think it can't simplify. Is that your final answer? So yes, it can simplify. No, it can't. Thumbs up, thumbs down in the chat. And remember to check if it can simplify, either type it in on your calculator or ask yourself, is there a number that I can divide into both 40 and 15? Okay, we've got a bit of a mixed bag here. So if you have a calculator handy that shows you fractions, first thing that you can do to check is you can type this into your calculator. If it gives you a different fraction, it can simplify. However, what we can do to do this manually is we can say, okay, well, is there a number that I can divide into 40 and into 15? Well, yes, there is. I can divide 5 into 40 and I can divide 5 into 15. Exactly as Botus just said on the chat there. If I divide 40 by 5, I get 8. And if I divide 15 by 5, I get not 5, I get 3. Now I can't simplify that anymore. There's no number that can divide into both 8 and 3. 3 is a prime number, remember? And so this is now my final answer. Again, if you typed 40 over 15 into your calculator and you push equals, your calculator should automatically give you the simplified answer, right? So because you can either check on your calculator or because I saw that both could be divided by 5, I need to simplify my answer. Right, so I'm going to go through this again, just quickly because I can see that there was a bit of confusion and I've been asked to do it. First thing that we did was we converted this mixed number. So I converted the mixed number to an improper fraction. I think we're all happy with that. The next thing that I needed to do is I needed to remember that I have to go and multiply the two numerators together and the two denominators together. So 4 times 10, which gave me the 40, and 5 times 3, which gave me the 15. Now, whenever I'm working with fractions, I always need to double check if I can simplify. 2 ways to check you can simplify is either just to put it on your calculator. Your calculator will always give you the simplified fraction. Or you need to ask yourself, what number can divide into both the numerator and denominator? So here I saw that both 40 and 15 could be divided by 5. And so I divided 40 by 5 to get 8, and I divided 15 by 5 to get 3, and that is my simplified answer. Right, I'm hoping that makes sense. Olwa, I'm not too sure how you got 62 over 15, so maybe if you want to raise your hand to explain or type a message, I'll try help you. I'm not too sure where that 62 came from. Boitu, do you have a question or do you want to say something?
Ma'am, couldn't you turn it into a mixed number?
You can. What would the mixed number be?
2 and what? 2/3.
Excellent. Well done. 2 and 2/3. So guys, if you want to convert it to a mixed number or a mixed fraction, absolutely fine. I don't like mixed numbers, so I never write them down, but it is absolutely fine if you want to. Olwa, help me out here.
So Miss, I also like for like 2.4.3. This sum I also said 4 over 5 times 10 over 3. But then I thought that you should make it like a whole number. And so I said 5 times 3, and then at the top I said 4 times 3. So I made it equal into one number, into 15.
Okay, I understand. So we don't need to do that. Even though we've got the mixed number over here, we don't need to create whole numbers. Once you've converted it to the improper fraction, we then just multiply the numerator and multiply the denominators.
Oh, so you don't have to make it a full number. You don't
No.
add them together.
No.
If it has a full number and a improper fraction, you only do what you did.
Exactly. So what we need to do is we need to take the mixed number and we need to convert it to an improper fraction. And once you've done that, you don't have to worry about the 3. You've put it into an improper fraction, so it's gone.
Okay, miss.
Okay, good. Well done. Right, again, I'm going to hang 10 here in case anyone wants to take a screenshot.